Hello, everybody. Happy Monday and welcome to this edition of the Racing Insiders podcast. I am Kate Dillon from CrateInsider.com. And over here on the Steve cam, there we go. We got Steve over here. Steve Hendren from Hendren Racing Engines is joining me as my co-host. He's just finishing up a cigarette there. Yeah, I am excited to set up inside today because, well, the thunderstorms, I don't know, it may or may not happen. And I don't know. It rained a little bit today.
But it's humid as shit out here. So.
Yeah.
Sit in the air conditioning or, sitting here.
Right.
Or outside.
Yes. Well, and I don't really like taking camera equipment outside with the rain. That's like a bad combination right there. So yeah. All right, well, we got Steve coming back to join us here in just a second. And if you're here, drop in a comment, say hi, tell us where you're watching or listening from. And also, if you have any questions, feel free to drop them into the comments. And we are happy. Well, that's why we're here every week, to answer questions. Well, actually, that's
primarily.
Yeah, that's why you're here. Right. And I just usually ask said questions. And you're the answer guy.
It's also a good excuse to drink beer live on camera.
It is. So what are you drinking this week?
Well, just my normal basic bitch, Ultra.
Michelob Ultra?
Yes.
Gotcha. I am drinking a Bud Light Chelada today. And it is, this one I got, it's just the regular, like in the can. So like if you're at the golf course and, you just have the go-to, I've been spoiled because I've been making my own for so long that this does not at all taste
Why did you bring... So that was random. So if you're at the golf course and you want a chelada, then you can get one.
Well, that's actually where I first started drinking those ever.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Because it's already in the can. It's like when you have a mixed drink, it's like a total pain in the ass.
Were you doing a chelada whole?
No. God, no. There's no way. Number one, they're giant. And yeah.
Chelada every 2 holes?
No. I mean, I only ever played 9 holes because I have tendonitis in my right arm. So I can't really play that.
Gotcha.
Play long or anything, but just enjoying 2 or 3 or something. So it's the go-to.
You show the crowd your golf grip.
What about no, I'm not going to show the camera my golf grip. I'm not going to do that.
How about your shock grip?
No, I think there are enough videos where I'm doing lewd things.
You stroking shocks?
Yes, while I'm doing lewd things with my hands, and I don't mean to. Like, I'm not at all doing
that was a running joke for quite a while.
Yeah, if you watch the video on YouTube about me showing off the AFCO double adjustable shocks, it gets... My God, that was a while ago.
Yeah, it's been a day or two.
That's when there was like a video studio in here. It was, I think my hair is probably short. It's like 2015. God, I've been on videos for a long time.
You've been there.
Oh man, I see. Got a few folks joining us. Chuck is here, and he's here from West Tennessee.
Right.
West Tennessee, and Andrew is here saying hey. Yeah. But we get.
Tennessee. We just think about it as hour away, basically.
Yes.
But West Tennessee is quite a ways away.
Yes, it is. Like go over to Memphis and all of that over there. That's definitely a ways away. So, Steve, how was your week?
Good. Yeah. Not bad. Good. Got some shit done. Yeah.
Good.
We were able to get a bunch of new stuff done.
Oh, good.
Which, has been a struggle, as we all know, with, new 604s and stuff like that. But yeah, we were able to get several of those done.
Good. Good. That's great news. I know. I feel like the supply chain, it feels to me that either demand has slowed down enough that we can reasonably get products again, that it's not so crazy, or we're just hitting at a really good stride at this point.
Yeah.
Because I'm actually able to get stuff. And believe me, there's a long list of things that I cannot get, but I feel like I'm able to get more and more.
Right. We run into that, like, the ones I got done this last week were like, complete combinations. So everything but a race car kind of deal.
Right.
And, a lot of the stuff that we would normally use as components, obviously you're having to substitute a thing here or there, So rather than best, we're going, or better, we're going, or rather than best, we're going better.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? If that makes sense. So
yeah, and it's the dumbest stuff sometimes. It's
Oh, it can't. Well,
like you can't get a fuel pump
can
rod.
you get a fuel pump push rod anywhere in the country right now?
Not the 4607.
No. Well,
No.
well, you can't even from anybody else. There's no. I mean, you can't even get the composite ones.
Wow.
I mean, we we checked everywhere, literally, and there's not one available anywhere in the country.
Wow.
Which tells you it's coming from China. So now we've got, supply chain issue.
Yeah, I hear you. Oh, I see Chuck's got a great fact of the day for us. He says, fact of the day, 1 out of 3 Biden supporters is just as stupid as the other 2.
This is actually very accurate.
I feel like that's a perfect fact of the day right there.
That's a good fact of the day.
Yes. And Terry's here from Iowa. It does exist.
Okay. Well, I mean,
anybody that's new to the show, Steve has a problem, understanding that whether Iowa exists or not.
Yeah,
so.
I'm still not sure if it's a state or a place or a,
And of course, I partially grew up there, so I'm fully aware that it's a place.
Yeah.
And Tommy is here from Mount Clemens, Michigan.
Wow, that's ways off too.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know we've got some good questions. Kind of snagged some from some of our YouTube comments. But before we jump into questions, and any of you guys that are here with us live, any questions you have, drop them into the comments. That's really what we're here to do.
Yeah.
But I do want to
it's the one time a week I don't get annoyed by answering questions.
Right.
I don't get annoyed, but you know what I mean.
I do.
It's not during business hours. It's after hours. I'm drinking a beer. So,
Well,
who's going to be more honest about questions and answers than me when I'm drinking a beer?
Well, it's true. And also you're not distracted by the email that just came in or knowing that you need to get this engine out today or
exactly.
A customer just walked in the door. I mean, this is what we're here for.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
Primarily, I mean, we started this whole show during the pandemic. If nobody's been here since then.
Right.
And hell, we were just basically bored as shit and decided, hell, let's go live and, I don't know, talk a bunch of mad crap on Facebook.
Yeah.
So
just chat with our people.
What we did.
Like have a party kind of thing. All right. So we do have a question here from JD. He says, what are the best carburetor jets to use on a 604?
Well, that's going to be entirely up to what carburetor you have and the builder who built the carburetor. So always in that scenario, my first recommendation is contact the builder and ask him what jet you need for the fuel that you're using and what the carburetor was designed for. Because there's many different variables involved in carburetors nowadays and just jetting. So there's air bleeds, there's emulsion bleeds, there's just a world of stuff that you need to take into consideration. So if I gave you a best carburetor jet recommendation, that would be for our carburetors, not anyone else's. And so that would be certainly a question to ask your carburetor builder.
I think so.
And if it's a Holley carburetor, like a bone stock Holley type carburetor, HP or something like that, then generally most of those are going to be designed for, pump gas, non-oxygenated fuel. And generally they send those out at least two jet sizes rich for that kind of combination. So beyond that, if you're trying to use one of those carburetors on, oxygenated race gas or something like that, then it'd be something to where I would certainly contact a carburetor builder and ask them, if they deal with that style carburetor, and ask them, that question.
Well, and he follows up by saying that he says we have a quick flow now looking at getting a Willys.
Yeah. I would certainly recommend the Willys. I mean, that's one of the carburetors we always recommend. I mean, we build our own stuff. We do I like David Smith stuff. I like Stealth, and I like Willys. That's the 4 that I normally go to at all times.
All right. And I see Tommy has a question. He says, any news on Dave Hammond? And can you share what happened? Yeah, I haven't looked at Dave's page today.
I didn't know anything happened.
Yeah. So here's what happened. He was on like one of those basically it's like a creeper, but except for it's the kind you sit on, so looks like a toddler's chair. I mean, I've got one at my shop too. And he was sitting on it, and in his words, like, it's a Chinese piece of shit. So therefore, like, it broke and it toppled him backwards and he hit his head straight on the concrete.
Oh shit.
Good thing that he had his phone with him because he couldn't get up. He had to call his wife.
Oh damn.
And had to go to the hospital and get stitches in his head.
Dang.
So he's got some really great folks working for him now. I mean, Michael's there and Brian's there, so they're holding down the fort.
Mhm.
And Dave, if he can work, he's going to work.
Oh,
But I saw that he wasn't able to make it in like on Friday. I don't know if he's back at work today, but it sounds like he might have had. I don't want to put words.
It is
in
unlike Dave to buy a Chinese piece of shit, though.
Oh no! And now he's talking about making his own
with American. Now that's like Dave.
He's
with
like,
American steel and American wheels.
Exactly. Yes.
American foam. So
yes.
so my ass don't hurt while I'm sitting down.
Right. Yes. And he's already got people on his page saying, "Hey, well, I'd buy one. I'd buy one.
Right.
I'd buy one." So I wouldn't be surprised if Dave Hammond becomes the new master creeper manufacturer. It's not really a creeper. What do you call it? It's
I don't even know. They use them
kind of like a creeper, but
I've seen them used a lot in body shops and stuff like that over the years, and I don't know what they're called. Scooter stool or something like that.
Right. Well, I mean, I got one actually.
Usually got four wheels and
and you're sitting really close to the ground. So for us at the store, like if we're doing something with the shelves at a lower part, I mean, you can try to squat, but squatting gets old, and we got a bunch of it to do. It's usually just kind of roll around. So yeah. And I see Dell's here saying hey, and hey Dell, it's great to see you. Mary Lou has a question. She says, hey there, do you have any CrateInsider hoodies in stock right now? In fact, I do. So I'm going to drop in a link right here, and that is to our CrateInsider hoodies. I don't have a ton of them, and I kind of have some limited sizes, but we do have them in stock.
I'm sure you'll place a bigger order for them,
closer
to winter.
Yeah, we sure
fall,
will.
I guess.
Yes. Oh, and that all showed up there. So again, questions, you guys drop them in, and I'm going to snag some of these are from some of the folks who have commented on our YouTube channel different times.
Or ask questions, I guess.
And ask, this one's fun. This one is from Shitbox Productions, LLC. This is who's asking this on YouTube. I'll go ahead and enter this and show it up on the screen. Says, so should I be buying VP X85 and dumping it straight into the gas tank, or do I need to mix it? Also, I can buy X85 at the pump. Is there any difference?
Okay,
but I wonder if you can really buy X85, or if he's just confusing the X85.
Well, it could be a racetrack that has, the old, a lot of racetracks will put in underground tanks and actually sell it out of like a legit, pump.
Right.
So that could be it. But you don't want to mix it with anything. No, not at all. So, I'll be honest. The X85, I always promote it because I like VP fuels. I always have. One of the few fuel companies that will, shoot you straight. So I prefer that fuel if you're going to be running an E85 variant. But they, when we're comparing numbers back to back, I just tested this last week. I tested before Dylan Brown went to Lernerville to go up there and run Vicky's Memorial Race for the 20,000 to win race.
Yeah.
We got Sunoco and basically compared it back to back. Essentially, and same carburetor settings, same everything. Power was basically the same level. So I can honestly say between the Sunoco, between the base, between the Renegade, between the VP, all those pretty much run the same. If you can actually get good X85 or not X85, E85 out of a pump, the gas station, knowing that there's no water contamination to it and knowing that it's actually E85, then odds are that's going to be somewhat similar, maybe a little bit less power, but it's going to be very close.
Well, actually, that leads me to a follow-up question, and this was in our YouTube comments. Right. I was just actually copying and pasting it over here. And this John is the name of the commenter. And he says, if I'm tuned on pump E85, would I be doing any damage running a race E85?
Odds are you probably won't. By tuned, I don't know if it means you bought a carburetor from a carburetor manufacturer and bolted it on and you're tuned, or if you've been on a dyno of some sort, chassis dyno, engine dyno, whatever, and it's tuned around your pump E85. There could be a little bit of variance there, but In general, no, it's going to be really hard to hurt anything by going to a race E85. Matter of fact, the race E85 is consistent, whereas pump stuff is not. So I would be more concerned about buying it from a gas station out of a pump than I would by buying, 4 different brands of E85 from manufacturers where it's in a sealed drum.
Right. Okay. Great. Now this one, I'm going to put up the question, but I'm actually going to read a little bit longer version. So this person says, some builders are claiming that they are getting 25 plus more horsepower after they freshen an engine. Is that legally possible? And how much can you get out of one? I think this is a good caveat, I'm going to preface the question here. We're Crate Insider, so we do, or at least I'm Crate Insider. You mostly work on Crate engines, and most of our stuff is really geared towards Crate engines. However, being on YouTube or TikTok or any of the social platforms, sometimes our audience widens out into areas that really aren't Crate engines.
Right. Correct.
So I don't know if that's really where that customer or where that question is coming from. But what are your thoughts on this? Can engine builders?
Well, I mean, I've actually heard that in the crate world as well, or crate engine world as well. And generally speaking, I mean, if somebody's saying that on a brand new engine out of the box, it's a complete and total lie. That being said, back in 2007, 2008, that wasn't so much of a complete and total lie. Back then, those engines were honestly just awful. and yeah, I mean, it was nothing to get 20 horsepower out of an engine. I mean, I've seen 20 just by changing cylinder heads. So I had a customer one time that had a 2006 engine that had those shitty ass damn heads. And then he somehow found a new one and we dynoed it. It's 20 down, 25 down from anything we've dynoed, in the last year. And so the date code on it was like something like 2005, 2006. So we're in 2008. So I'm like, dude, if we literally left the car on the dyno, bought 2 brand new heads from the GM dealer, had them, sent to us. Next day, we both those, take the one set of heads off, both the other heads on, car still on the dyno, and picked up 22 horsepower, 23 horsepower. Just by cylinder heads alone, did nothing else. Mm-hmm. And this is a brand new motor. So back in those days, yes, that was something that was achievable. Nowadays, I mean, I can show you where I can pick you up 20 to 25. You got an absolutely worn out engine and it's fresh now.
Right.
But, as far as like a new one out of the box, no, generally speaking, we do the new ones out of the box as more of a insurance policy than a insurance policy. And once it's blueprinted, you're making the maximum amount that engine's going to make, whether that's 5 more than what it would be stock or whatever.
Well, and
it's not going to be 25. I'll put it that way.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and I know that there was a comment on here on the original video that I was talking about with this question, and the guy's like, well, yeah, I mean the production engine builders just don't take the time that you can get like 3 more horsepower out of each cylinder.
Right. And
I think that's where there's a disconnect, understanding that crate engines, we have rules that we have to follow and limits, and exactly. You are getting it to spec and it is what it is. Am I wrong on that? Or
yeah, either that or the guy's like advocating that you go to a guy who builds like 2 motors a year rather than us who build 160. Yeah. So that could be what it is. You just never know.
All right. So Alan's here and he's got a question. He says, hi guys, usually don't get to see Monday's show, but got time tonight. A couple of weeks ago, I was asking Steve about 602 oil PSI, and his thought was to change the gauge. Mm-hmm. Well, you nailed it, Steve. Oil PSI is just what we want to see. One other thing I hear a lot is run 7 quarts of oil instead of 8 quarts in the 602. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, we run 7. We recommend 7 in both the 602 and the 604. Mm-hmm. If you get up to 8 quarts, what it's going to end up doing is it puts that oil into the crankshaft. So the crankshaft starts whipping that oil around. Number 1, that costs you power. Number 2, it actually heats the oil up more. So you're going to have a higher oil temperature because that oil is getting beaten around by the crankshaft.
Yeah. And Dave says carburetor can make 5 to 8 horsepower more with just the carburetor. Oh, absolutely.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, totally can.
Yeah. Really,
that time and time again.
The focus of that question we were talking about was just that there is a lot of kind of like a factor crap kind of thing that from crate engine builder, just the blueprinting portion of it, or freshening an engine, that it's going to make that big of a difference.
Yeah, carburetors will do that all day long.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's
and headers.
Headers are massive. Fuel, I mean, just fuel change is massive.
Yeah.
So generally speaking, if you've got a competent engine builder and the engine's actually been blueprinted, where there's people out there that say they do it and they don't. Generally speaking, if you're comparing apples to apples, and again, you got a competent engine builder who actually does the work that they say they're going to do for you, then the engines should all be the same, because we all have the same parameters we have to work around. And if that's the case, then what actually makes a difference in power is going to be your fuel. It's going to be your headers. It's going to be your carburetor. It's going to be, a bunch of other variables other than the engine itself.
Right. Yeah. We're limited in that regard.
Right.
And speaking of exhaust, Joe has a question. He says, hi, have you done any testing with merge collectors?
Yeah, years ago. Merge collectors are badass. If you can run them. I absolutely love merge collectors. I wish it was a legal option for most of the crate racing out there. I know it is for probably a few different places that don't really have a tight header rule as far as, like we do. And most of the stuff that we deal with, but merge collectors are freaking badass, dude. I would absolutely be running them if you possibly could.
Good to know. Well, that reminds me that over on TikTok, and if you don't follow us on TikTok, I invite you to follow Crate Insider on TikTok. I'm just there because that's where the people are. So I can assure you, there's
like people there, weirdos there.
No, but so here's the crazy thing. I was looking at it the other day. We have actively been on Instagram, not so much this year, but actively on Instagram as Crate Insider since 2017.
Yep.
We have 2,700 followers. We have 1,000 more than that on TikTok, and we joined in March. So, you got to go where the people are. And man, Instagram is like swimming upstream. TikTok's a lot easier, but it ends up putting us in front of people, just like I was talking about with YouTube, who really don't even understand what crate engines are a little bit. But apparently, it is groundbreaking, because although you and I have been talking about anti-reversion and all of that for years, like 2014, 2015, isn't it about when your mufflers came out?
Yeah, it's when we first designed the muffler. I mean, we designed it, and then we worked to deal with Dynatech, and Dynatech produced them for several years for us. And then when they decided to get out of the header business as far as servo track stuff goes, we hooked up with Pro Fab, and Pro Fab produces them now for us. Yeah,
well, apparently just the concept of anti-reversion, which has also been around since like the 60s. The person just has to Google it.
Mid to late 70s.
Okay, but still, you can Google it. This is not like some random crazy thing that I just hooked up in my kitchen to put onto TikTok. And I pretty much have people calling me a liar, pretty much. Show me the dyno sheets or I don't believe you.
The creator of the
snake oil.
We were the inventors of the anti-reversion muffler. The man who actually invented anti-reversion technology when it comes to exhaust, his name was Jim Fueling. He owned Fueling Industries in California. Him and my dad were really good friends. And the anti-reversion system that he ran was per header tube rather than down at the muffler.
Right.
Well, per header tube would increase the price of headers exponentially. And so we designed the muffler around his technology that he invented. Now, of course, none of this is patented anymore or anything like that. So we designed that, the muffler, and the muffler makes a massive difference.
It does.
Massive difference.
Especially on the torque.
I have yet to put that muffler on anything that we did not pick up torque.
Now, have you ever tried it on a 4-cylinder? Because I
absolutely.
That question. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so I can answer that question on TikTok then.
There's several 4-cylinder engine builders down in South Carolina that use that stuff, or they've used it before, and they've seen the same. They've seen gains on that as well. Willie at Willie's Carburetor and Dyno Shop, he was one of the first people to adapt at a large scale, a large volume scale. He was one of the first people to adopt that and start bolting it on customers' cars back in the day there. And
he did tell me one time, like, Kate, you could put this on a rental car and it'd pick up torque.
Correct. And now he's seen the biggest gain I've ever seen. He sent me the dyno sheet on the chassis dyno on a open motor, open UMP mod motor. I think he picked up 100 foot-pounds.
Wow.
Now on crate stuff, it's not that much,
right?
But it has a lot to do with the overlap in the camshaft. I mean, there's a lot of different variables on how much you're going to pick up, but you can bolt those on. So one item you can actually bolt on and gain power or gain torque, and that's a bolt-on item. You'd spend thousands of dollars on an engine trying to pick up what we can pick up with a $150 fucking muffler, basically.
Yeah. Well, 100, and then you buy two of them, so it's like $200. Yeah, absolutely. And Darren says, I wish there was a 2-inch version. 2-inch reversion muffler.
Yeah.
Yep. And he says, what do you see at the other end with the anti-reversion muffler? Dave is asking.
Top end, you mean?
Yeah.
Top end, normally, I mean, your torque is still going to be an increase. On some open motors, we've seen a horsepower reduction at the very top end. On the crate stuff, it's still an overall gain, or at zero. In other words, like testing it back to back, muffler, no muffler, there's either a small gain or at zero, basically.
Right.
So you're not losing anything; you're gaining torque.
Oh, that's one of the challenges.
On limited horsepower, limited torque application engines, number one, all we're searching for on crate engines is low end torque, low to mid range. And if we can pick that up, that means you pull more gear out of the car, you gain mile an hour. So mile an hour is everything.
Well, and that's one of the challenges for the folks that have,
especially if you're momentum racing. Sorry,
yeah, no, but like engine dynos. I mean, because you do see those comments like, "Well, I put it on my dyno, I didn't see anything." Well, you're not going to on an engine dyno.
Well, a lot of problems on engine dynos is they cannot, unless it's like a really new high tech damn trick ass dyno, they can't start a pull low enough in the RPM range to read it accurately enough to see a gain.
Because on your chassis dyno, you can go 0 to whatever.
Well, I can go, 1,200 RPM.
Right.
So
whereas on an engine dyno, it's pretty much 3,200 and above, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, most of them they're going to start pulling about 4,000.
Okay.
Where they can actually start reading accurately. It's a water brake. Most of them are water brake dynos.
Well, and by that time, all the torque is you're so close to being done with the torque curve that you're getting into the horsepower curve, right?
Yeah, I mean, peak torque on a 604 is usually around 55 or so.
Okay. Yeah, so you're not seeing the low end torque at all.
Mid range, not bottom end. So I mean, on an average start or restart, you're taking off 2,500, 3,000 RPM. So that's where you see a massive difference.
Or coming off the corner as well, right?
Yeah, correct. Now, if you put those, we've had them on World Outlaw sprint cars. We've had them on, Lucas Oil cars, World Outlaw late models, all that stuff. A lot of the sprint car guys, they were kind of hiding them.
Yeah.
and putting shit around them to make them look like something other than what they were.
Got to hide your secrets.
Right. Hide the secrets. But a lot of guys, as the tracks that we race on have gotten drier and shittier, when it comes to the open motor stuff, I mean, you got super late model dudes. Hell, they got restrictor plates on them bitches. So they're trying to kill shit. They're trying to kill power now.
Wow.
But back in the day,
so I don't spin tires.
Mid 2010 to 2020 in that mid-range area, we had them on everything.
Wow. That's fun.
And crate car, I have yet to see a scenario other than maybe Sonoma, Georgia, where it's so damn slick that you can't use what you got with a 604. So we're always looking for more, and those add an absolute ass load. Yep.
Good to know. Scott says, good evening. How many laps on a 602 before it needs to be freshened?
So there's two questions there.
But I know,
I'll answer the first question.
They're so not related. I'll just do one at a time.
So there's no magic number there. So I always recommend that people run a leak down test on their engine every 10 races. So long as it leaks down fine. In other words, you don't have more than 12 to 15% leak down in a cylinder. with it cold, then, continue running it until you see more than that. Once you see more than that, then the engine needs to be freshened, because it's only going to go 3 places. It's going in the pan through the rings. It's coming out the exhaust through the exhaust valve, or it's going up in the intake through the intake valve. So that's where the air is going to be going.
Gotcha. And then Scott has a second question. What's the difference between the Pro Fab headers and the Schoenfeld headers? Now I'm trying to look at his profile picture, but there's people in Victory Lane. I don't know what kind of car he has.
It depends on the application, honestly.
Yeah.
I mean, the late model wise, I mean, to me, there's no comparison. I mean, the Pro Fab is the best thing out there. I promote them like crazy. I sell them like crazy, or try to, because if everybody wants the best of the best, that's what I prefer. Street stock wise and everything else, I mean, the Pro Fabs are better. Yeah. I mean, we're talking guys who build headers for NASCAR and Indy cars and everything else. So, yeah, it's the best of the best, but do you need the best of the best is where I always go with people.
Where are you racing?
Where are you racing
against?
What are you racing against? What are your conditions? Stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And that being said, I mean, I know Doug Schoenfeld personally, all that stuff. My dad was friends with him. Great guy, great freaking company. Probably like one of the freaking OG damn header manufacturers out there who
not only that
could produce stuff for everyone in every application,
and in a very timely manner.
Matter of fact, I think you told a story last week, maybe, that he was the only one you can get headers for a customer in a reasonable amount of time. So yeah, I've got no problem with that.
Well, I mean, and having headers is just, I try to tell people, like, I know it's the last thing you put on your car, but don't wait for that to be the last thing you order.
Yeah.
Because they're so big, and as a retailer, they're an investment in both money and space.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and there's so many different varieties, it's hard to have all of them.
Right.
And so, get on that earlier rather than later.
Mm-hmm.
I have a fun announcement that I'm really excited about. You ready for my fun announcement?
Sure.
Okay. So Steve has been talking about this for months at this point, and I was teasing him about being a premature promoter. But this is the Arts Radiator thermostat setup, and I wanted to just show it on the show just because I just got these in, and they just made it to the website. Mm-hmm. So we've got them for a 602, a 604, and you can get them as a -16 or -20. But like, this is for the 604. You can tell it's got the
waterline kit.
Yep, it's got the waterline pieces on the back. And then this is the thermostat. And then from here, this little hose goes down to your water pump.
Top of the water pump.
Yep. Right. And then this one goes to your radiator.
Mm-hmm.
So this one, I think this one's a -16.
That's a 16.
Yeah. And anyway, I'm so excited. It's been a process because
primarily this is something that's going to be used on E85 or methanol.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, and I guess the idea of the thermostat, I was talking to a customer, and one reason they wanted it is it would allow their engine to warm up faster.
Well, that's the reason. So, okay. Yeah, I mean, a conventional thermostat, the way it's designed, sitting in, the thermostat housing area where your top radiator hose normally goes, those create cavitation in the pump.
Okay.
While they're waiting to open. So when you get cavitation in the pump, obviously that's not a good thing. So that can create all sorts of heat and discontent and problems in the entire cooling system. Well, with this, the way it's designed, you got the bypass hose that goes to the pump. Mm-hmm. Normally it'll sit like this.
And
it goes to top of
like a C.
Top of the water pump, right? And that bypasses. So when it bypasses, the pump can't cavitate.
Okay.
So.
And cavitation is like little bubbles, and it means that
cavitation means the pump ain't pumping water.
Right, because it's just
right.
It gets air in there,
exactly.
and
so it creates all sorts of damn. I mean, and I'm just touching on it. I mean,
right. I mean, I'll talk to Art and get some more.
There's a better way to explain it than probably what I just explained it. But I'm telling you, this is something that we run on my own son's car. Art called me, months ago, and we started testing with this on my son's car, and it's absolutely brilliant. I mean, 1,000% like the best thing on the market.
Well, and especially now these days, we want to try to save fuel anytime we can. And if your car can,
Well,
if your engine can
yeah.
warm up faster,
Correct. And
you can potentially save
one of the
fuel.
issues on E85, especially like on the stuff we do, especially the carburetors we build, we're running these things so damn rich that you literally burn more fuel trying to warm the car up than you do racing.
Wow.
So it's a bit of an issue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Now this is an interesting question here, and I'm just going to kind of read it out without putting it on the screen. So this is an older one, but you run into problems with this. So on a 602 run on dirt, this person, Mikey, says, I've been told to remove the 2 plugs on top of the intake manifold. I don't believe these are water ports. What are your opinions?
They're not water ports, and I've actually seen where dudes have plumbed water to those. So no,
what are they for?
I honestly don't even know. They're just there. They're like 1/2-inch pipe plugs on either side. They go to nothing. I assume that intake manifold that GM uses they got to be used for something.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly what it is.
Right.
But it's not used for anything on a 602.
Right.
And I've actually seen dudes like plumb water to that.
Well, it makes sense because it's what you do with the.
Yeah, but there's no water there. That's what I'm getting.
Right.
There's
nothing's going to happen.
No. So
it's a placebo effect.
No.
All right. Actually, now speaking of the thermostat, Steve has a question here, and he says, "Does that setup have an air vent in the top?"
Yes, it does.
Is that what that is right here?
That's exactly what that is.
Okay. So in top of the water outlet portion of this, we have an air vent.
Now you can also replace that if you wanted to. I mean, that vents the system to where it's filled up 1,000%. But you can also replace that with like a little, it's just basically an 1/8-inch pipe plug or something like that. At any rate, you can like put like a little petcock on there if you wanted to or whatever, so bleed the system. So essentially, it's a bleed.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. Why would you do that?
To get all the air out of the system.
Oh, okay. Okay. Gotcha. I mean, it's not pressurized or anything, but got it.
Well, I mean, it will be pressurized once the motor starts.
Oh, okay. That's true. Yeah. And Dave.
EGR bullshit. Yeah.
What's that? EGR crossover.
Yeah. It's like stock. That's what I'm saying. They're using a stock type manifold, so it's EGR bullshit.
Oh yeah, it's kind of like the OMD port type stuff where you've got the little sensors and things or whatever going to the computers. I don't know.
I don't work on stock cars. I know what EGR is. I don't work on stock cars. So.
All right, here's a new question. Jason says, is 87 non-ethanol better than 93 pump gas with ethanol on a 602?
No, I would not trust 87 at all. 93 is the bare ass minimum that I would trust on anything race related, especially on a 9.5 to 1 motor. 87 will detonate.
That would be bad.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
I know, understatement.
Wipe one out quick. Yeah. So no, you do not want that. So I would trust the 93 with ethanol way before that. That being said, normally you'll find 93 non-ethanol. I don't think I've ever seen 87 non-ethanol. Not that it doesn't exist. I've just never personally seen it.
It's really rare. I think I have seen it, but I mean, hell, I'm not a big gas price person. But you know what? I saved like 30 cents a gallon going down to Hickory this weekend rather than getting it here.
All right.
Woo!
I saved 30 cents a gallon in Hickory. That's insane. Normally we're cheaper than they are.
I know, but it was like $4.79 up here, and I paid $4.49 in Morganton.
What the fuck?
Oh, I know, and I usually don't even look at these things, but gas prices are so bad that I have to look at these things. Well, because I know I'm going to.
Are you ready for your gas tax holiday? Where it's going to lower everything by like 18 cents a gallon?
Except it's not. Because it's going to drive up the demand. Because people will be like, oh my gosh, this is going to be the cheapest gas is going to be for like a long time. So now I'm going to like fill up, and that's going to create more demand cycle, which is then going to raise the prices. So whatever I have for gas in the vehicle at that time, but you actually know how I do save. I do actually save on gas. Do you know how I do it?
How? Don't drive?
Well, there's that. I actually, my work is a half a mile from here, so that helps. But the other thing is I use the app called Upside.
Oh yeah, you told
And
me
I've
that.
used it for years. There's like $40 in my, I've only been using it for like.
You know how I
years.
save on gas?
You don't.
I don't.
You don't at all.
I use as much as I possibly freaking can because I like warmer environments.
Oh, don't even. Don't even talk about how much you love warmer environments.
Right.
When I hear you bitching like to the high heavens about how effing hot it was that day,
Well,
and your air conditioning
yeah.
wouldn't even hardly take the humidity out. So I don't want to hear about how you want hotter weather, because you absolutely do not. You do not. And then even when I pointed out that, hey, wow. Hey, what do you think of this warm weather? I think it's the global warming, Steve. Don't you like it?
Global warming is a good thing.
All right, new question. Let's see. Richard says, with running your carb so rich, won't it wash the cylinders?
No, it won't. No, because we're also proportionately running the timing excessively high as compared to like something like pump gas or race gas. So it is still burning the entire mixture.
Gotcha. Yeah, and Alan, on the gas tax holiday is a face palm and I believe that's a middle finger. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's a middle finger. All righty. So Gregory has a good question. He says, what pressure cap do you run for coolant in the 602 crate?
Generally, it's going to depend on your radiator, honestly. I mean, there are certain radiators that are built for high pressure caps, 30 plus pound caps. Most radiators that you're going to buy, I think, are built for 24 to 28 pound caps. So that's generally going to be the one that you want to use.
The one that I sell is the 29.
Is that for the AFCA radiator? So that radiator is built for that pressure.
Yeah,
cap,
we use these with the double pass. I'm going to drop in a link here.
Ideally, you want a radiator that's rated for the highest pressure you can possibly put a cap on.
Oh, okay.
In other words, you want something, if you can run 29, 30 pounds or 31 pounds, that's freaking great. Because the more pressure that cap's rated for, the actual higher the operating temperature can be without creating steam and blowing water out the system.
Good to know. And I'm excited because I just got some radiators in stock.
Yeah, steam's what kills engines, not overall temperature.
Right.
So years ago, I had a CNR radiator that we ran in my crate car when I was doing a ton of racing, and we had a CNR, and it was a pressurized system. So in other words, it was air over water. So you filled the system up, topped it off, bled it out, and then you put, I can't remember the actual PSI. I think it was 15, 20 PSI air over water in an expansion tank, and that pressurized the system. And I think it ran at 60 pounds.
Oh, wow.
So essentially, there was no possible way that you could burn a motor down from running too hot. I literally ran one at I-20 in South Carolina back in the day when that existed. Actually, your brother ended up winning that race. I ran second to him. But I ran that thing at like 200. I mean, the needle was wrapped around. It was one of them races where, just, mud packed in the radiator because I'm running behind him, and I mean, the thing's out of sight. It's needles wrapped around and like locked against the freaking backside of the thing.
Right.
And motor was fun. So.
Well, and that brings up a really interesting, tech tip that we learned from Race Logic. And if you guys haven't heard of Race Logic, I'm just going to highly recommend it. It's, now it's an online class. It's an in-person class. It's like 2 days.
Yeah, it's in person.
It's in person in January,
online.
But then we film it all so that it can be an online version, so you can rewind and watch it and all of that. So our friend Ben Baker from AFCO, the tip that he gave us is, if you want to run a water temperature gauge, do that. But what's even more important is a water pressure gauge. Correct. Because in that case, if you had gotten a rock in your radiator and you lost all the water, it wouldn't change your temperature of your.
Well, what ends up happening when that, and where a lot of people end up burning engines down is, all right, let's say the thing's running, 200 degrees, and you get a rock through the freaking radiator. And most drivers, unless they got a lot of experience, they're normally not looking at the gauges.
Right. Yeah.
So let's say they glance down at the gauge that's running 200. Well, they glance down at the gauge after getting a rock through the radiator, and they spilled half the water out of the engine, and it's still running 200. So basically what ends up happening there is like steam reads cooler than the water. So you got steam in the system and you're burning the motor down. The driver didn't know it.
Right. Yeah. So that's a good thought. And on that same kind of water topic, Alan says, what are your thoughts on running water wetter?
I can tell you. All right. So water wetter, yeah, it's a good thing. And, but I'll tell you the absolute best way to run water wetter. And me and my dad back in the day, my dad, again, was really good friends with Howard Stewart Water Pumps.
Mm-hmm.
He no longer owns the company, but he's the founder and
Yeah.
all that of Stewart Pumps. And my dad was really good friends with him. And so Howard always told us, oh, don't buy any of that expensive shit. He said, go down to damn, I'm paraphrasing here. So I don't think he said shit, but don't buy any of that expensive shit. He's like, go down to the freaking dollar store, get you one of them little 69-cent things of Dawn dishwood or liquid dish soap. He said, take the cap, pour a little bit in the cap, dump that in the radiator, fill the system. That's your water wetter.
Now,
And
yeah,
go ahead.
Well, you recommend distilled water, though. Am I right?
Yeah,
Yes.
right.
So I don't think that's obvious to everyone, that might pull out a hose and fill up the radiator, but it's worth it for the 50 cents or dollar
Right.
at the dollar store.
But at any rate,
Yeah.
So
he likes Dawn dishwashing soap, and he throws all my coolants out.
we still run it.
I'm just teasing you.
No, we still run it.
Yeah.
So it does the same exact thing. So water wetter, what that does is it lubricates. Well, it's the same thing. Like take Dawn dish soap, put it on a plate, put some water on it. What happens?
Yeah, it's
hydrophilic. It goes to it.
Yes.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing.
Yep.
So do you need to buy this expensive shit that's water wetter? No. Does it work? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's the idea behind it.
Mm-hmm.
So what you want it to do is be able to actually come in contact with the metal in the engine. In other words, the cylinder wall, the outside of the cylinder walls, the cylinder heads, everything else. And in order to do that water wetter, so it makes water wetter.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it does.
Does that mean that it's
so?
Better,
Yes, run it.
Is it better at carrying temperatures then? So it can. Pull
well, it's
the
better at
heat
dissipating heat. Correct.
Yeah, is why you would use it
because you want the water in contact with that surface.
Mm-hmm.
So, but Dawn liquid dish soap does the same damn thing.
Yeah.
For 69 cents.
Well, from what I understand about water, and I'm not a scientist. I'm not going to pretend that
I'm not either.
I don't know. I mean, after 2020, I think we all are. But yeah, I used to.
I don't know when the science got COVID last week. I'm not believing in science anymore. I'm just saying.
So okay, if we can think of water molecules like it's got a skin on it almost. And with
Correct.
that, you've got these basically, it's not bubbles, but these round like pieces of water that are running through your system. And how like a Dawn dishwashing soap works is it breaks apart those molecules, or not the molecules, but it breaks apart.
It does something, yeah.
It breaks
Whatever.
it apart to make them smaller. And
Yep.
if you've got a smaller, then you've got more surface area.
Correct.
And if you've got more surface area, then that's how you're able to penetrate.
Yep.
And do that. Makes sense. All right, simple question for Chris. He says, do you have matched valve springs in stock for a 602? The answer to that is yes. Yes, I do. We kind of ran through a bunch of them, and we're going to have to rate some more in the coming days here. But, the part that takes one of the longest is just unwrapping the damn things.
Well, don't you have like evil assistant to the evil assistant to do it?
No, she came in once, and I think I burned her out on the first day.
Shit.
I know. Jeremy's here. Jeremy came by the store today, and he is known about the. Well, I don't want to give up any secrets for you, Jeremy, but no, I don't know if he wants everybody to know what he's running. So, but he came right away today and had some products. Now Jeremy says we've used the cheap blue windshield washer fluid and it works the same. That's interesting with the alcohol in it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily think I'd do that. But
I'd be concerned about the different. Well, it's the differing metals that can also be a big problem as well, because you got aluminum in one spot and steel.
Well,
in
if you're
another.
talking 604 or something like that,
Right.
You do. So there's what is that electrolysis that can take place or whatever.
Yes, it's basically like there's some of those experiments, like you can take copper and you can put it into a bath with I think it's like vinegar and like aluminum foil or something. And what'll happen is the ions from one metal will transfer to the other metal, but in a water system, it can definitely cause some issues like that. Oh, and Darren says it's scientism.
Scientism. Yeah,
that's a good one, Darren.
It's like
scientism.
It's like a cult.
No, we're okay. I don't know. It was an ism or an ology. I'm not sure. But, I don't want to get
same thing.
Yeah, well, it kind of is. Yeah, but try not to get shut down. Actually, okay. Can I talk like culture for a moment and culture, stock market, and politics?
You do that while I take a piss, and then
No. It's all about telling you about it.
Oh no, go ahead. Tell the audience about it.
Well, I should ask them first. I mean, do you think the world's gone a little bit too woke? I mean, if you think that, just go ahead and say yes. Just drop in a yes into the comments. And if you don't think the world's gone too woke, drop in a no, and I will keep my mouth shut and not be So if you think the world's gone too woke, drop in a yes, or otherwise drop in a no. And I see we've got another. Okay, I see a yes here. And okay, all right, hell yes. All right. I mean, I kind of figure I know who I'm talking to because you're my friends. Now, I was watching a YouTube video last night, and I am just going to say this is a single source, so I'm not going to go too far off the rails and like this is the gospel truth of everything. But here's one thing that's super interesting is that in the stock market, now you have companies that get what they call ESG scores. And you might have even seen Elon Musk talking about it about a week ago. He's like, hey, what is the deal so ESG is environmentally social, it's like you're environmentally, socially and responsible and all that other stuff, right? It's basically woke, pro woke. Right. Well, in Tesla, Elon Musk is like, I have Tesla. How is it possible that Exxon has a better ESG score than Tesla? So it's really based on all these different parameters. And so I think many of my friends would be in the mindset that Netflix, it's like, what the hell happened to Netflix? How did they get so woke? Well, let me tell you who's behind the whole ESG thing. It's BlackRock. Oh, yeah. BlackRock is a company that we've heard about it snapping up houses. Here's what I didn't know, that they have a value of over $10 trillion. That's bigger than like most countries. Like the CEO of BlackRock is on all these like governmental committees like foreign relations and stuff. Anyway, they're the holder of the ESG scores. So for instance, when the Dave Chappelle, that big thing that happened on Netflix, and anyway, then they got a failing grade on their ESG scores because they were like homophobic or something or another. And yet at the same time, you've got things like that cuties, and you've got all this, just what you and I would think of as absolute trash. And I'm not a prude by any means, but a bunch of trash. Well, Netflix has now stood up and said, you know what? Hey, employees, we might work on some projects that you don't particularly like or agree with your values. Sorry, either suck it up or get out. This may not be the place for you to work. I mean, to go up against BlackRock. But, if we've wondered, why are these companies making these decisions? Well, why would they want better ESG scores? It all comes back to all of the investing in the mutual funds and the people who, if you don't know nothing about stocks, you're like, you have a choice. Okay, well, there's some mutual funds here. Do you want the ones? Are you kind of anti-tobacco and like anti-alcohol? There's a fund for that. Or if you want like green technologies or environmentally socialism or environmentally socially responsible. So that's those funds invest in that. So it's really, at the end of the day, it's all about BlackRock and why I don't know, but I think it's terrible.
Talking conspiracy theory.
Yeah. No, I'm not though. I'm really not. I mean, this is math. And all I wanted to say is I for my research, I watched one YouTube video. So I don't want to say that this is gospel, like this is all gospel all the way through. I have not done more extensive research on my own. I do find it fascinating. And so that's why I'm sharing it with all my friends. All right. So we got some Oh, and Jeremy says, you can tell it doesn't bother me if everybody knows what I bought. So yes, Jeremy came by. He has been super interested in buying the thermostat system we were just talking about. And so the minute that I was able to put these on the website, before I even released them, I sent him a message on Facebook and I was like, by the way, I know you've asked me multiple times. I have this. And so I wanted to give him, first shot at it. And so he was going home to install it on his car. He might even be doing that right now. All right, we got a question for you, Steve. Yeah. Jason says, with crossover headers on a street stock, 3.5-inch primaries, would you recommend 3.5 anti-reversion mufflers or a 3-inch on a 602?
Well, number one, I would recommend 3-inch collectors if you can run them. So that would be the first sign.
Right.
Because 3.5 is too large for a 602, honestly.
Okay.
One second.
Yeah, we typically use
that being said, if you're married to the 3.5-inch collector, then you really need to run the 3.5-inch anti-reversion muffler. Because honestly, I haven't messed around with tapering it down. 3.5 to 3 to 3, and then back up to 3.5.
Oh, yeah, we've done that.
Out to 3. I have not messed around with that because generally we run 3-inch collectors on 602, 604s because the 3.5 is honestly too large. But if you're married to that, I would probably end up with a 3.5-inch anti-reversion. Yep.
And on my comment, Darren says Elon is the granddaddy of the social credit system. Yeah, I'm not going to argue. I agree with you there for sure. So it's interesting that they get a low score on the ESG stuff for sure.
Right.
Earl, Brian's here. Brian Littleton from Race Logic. We were mentioning Race Logic earlier. And still, guys, I mean, I strongly would. Well, I mean, you're even.
Yeah, I mean, I did 2 classes with him this year or this past year.
In this year, in 2022, one for late models and one for street stocks.
And I mean, I'm getting calls from guys right now that, we're at the class. So
whole lot of win photos on that. And it's not too late. You can just go to racelogic.vip.
And I don't do it to honestly go there and get business from these guys. I mean, it's kind of like us doing this show. I mean, we started this show just give people information. That's how my dad always was. My dad was on 4M all the time, giving people free info. Does it generate business? Yes. But it's not the primary goal. I mean, I've raced all my life. I mean, I've spent tons and tons and tons of money doing stupid shit and trying stupid shit to figure out shit. And if I can save somebody from spending that kind of money doing stupid shit, I will. So that's kind of at Brian's class. I mean, that's basically why I do it. It's because I can go talk to people, whether it's, in my little segment that I do, or whether it's privately, and answer questions for people that, normally they just don't get an honest answer to if they're not asking anybody else.
Yeah. And we're just real people. Everybody's real people that Brian does an amazing job of really gathering a team of people who have a variety of opinions or variety of experiences. So it's not just like, this is the way it is and everybody's going to teach that. Right. They're bringing their personal experience, and those experiences can vary. And you can have, there's no, like, nobody's throwing fists or anything, but there can be a variety of opinions on any number of things, and you get the supporting information. I think one example would be like you and Dave Hammond have different viewpoints on which transmission you would choose for your late model.
Absolutely.
But also you race in different areas of the country. So you just have different experiences and you have different reasonings. But as a viewer, you get the benefit of hearing all of that and knowing that neither one of these guys is really trying to sell you a transmission. Like nobody's, I'm literally the only person there that will shamelessly tell you that I am there to sell something. And the thing I'm there to sell is I go and I usually talk about fire suppression because I mean, whether you buy it from me or not, I'm a strong, firm believer in fire suppression systems in race cars, regardless of where you buy it from.
I mean, that's your deal. And
Yeah.
I mean, you've been promoting that since that dude was burned up.
Yeah, I think it's been like 2015, I think is how long. And I started doing videos talking about fire suppression. And I mean, I'm not the manufacturer or anything.
Well, I mean, I remember when the Lucas oil system came out. Gosh, you were selling those to everybody. Jimmy Owens. You were selling that stuff to all them dudes.
Absolutely, because I was already a fire bottle dealer ever since that. Again, the guy that burned up in the firefighter who died in a race car that caught on fire.
Yep.
And I was like, holy hell, I thought everybody had a fire bottle. I didn't realize that they didn't know about it. So yeah. All right. So we've got some more questions here. So Richard says, what should be the timing on a 604 from Chevy with hendren carb?
What fuel?
Yeah, Richard, it's going to depend on your fuel there. Yep. So we'll get back to Richard.
Drop that in there and I'll be able to answer the question.
Yeah. And Nick says, on a 604, is it worth a weight penalty for an updated motor? It says updates are 1.6 rockers, small balancer, and a carb spacer plate with a 6400 rev chip. Okay,
this is going to be an asphalt question. And what would the weight penalty be?
Okay. So we'll get back to you, Nick. If you could tell us how much weight you'd have to add.
And having a stock one, do you have to run 6400? That'd be another question.
Yeah, if that's a difference in the chip. And with Richard, he's running E85. So to go back to that question is, what should be the timing be on a 604? All right.
If it's one of our carburetors, then it's always going to be safe to run 36 degrees. Now that can vary. In other words, 36 is always safe with one of our carbs on E85. We've seen engines that produce max power, and believe it or not, I mean, these are all supposed to be the same, but I can't explain this, but somehow it can be different. So we've got some that are running at 38. We've got some that are running at 40.
But that's like a do not try that without being on a dyno.
Please don't do that unless you get it like on our chassis dyno or something like that, which I would highly recommend if you're buying a carburetor from us or if you own one from us. I mean, definitely set up some dyno time. If you're within, driving range, it's reasonable. And, you don't have to, spend 3 days getting here. And then we can actually tune that in for you. Generally, again, you're going to end up between 36 to 38. Again, 36 is always safe. 9 times out of 10, we're going to end up at 38.
Okay. And then back to Nick's question about the weight penalty. He says the weight penalty is 50 pounds. It's the same RPM.
Same RPM. Okay.
So on that 604, I'm just going to repeat this. Is it worth a weight penalty to add 50 pounds for an updated motor? And the updates include 1.6 rockers, small balancer, and a carb spacer plate. Okay.
So, so the 1.6 rockers, just going from 1.5s to 1.6s, that's 10 horsepower.
Okay.
All day long. Small balancer, it's not going to be a horsepower gain. It's going to be an acceleration gain of some sort, depending on the weight of it. So I would see that as a gain. Carburetor spacer plate versus none is going to be a gain. So yeah, I would say 100%. I would take the 50-pound weight penalty and do that.
Gotcha. Thank you, sir. I'll have another.
I mean, depending on the track too. Now, if you're racing a half-mile track, asphalt track, it may or may not be. It's probably a toss-up. Now, if you're running quarter mile 3/8, I'd definitely go with that package all day long, because end of the day, 50 pounds ain't going to make a shit bit of difference versus what you're going to be able to gain with all that.
Well, Jeremy mentions, he says, I know we had a 50-pound weight penalty for rebuilt 602 motors, and I feel like it wasn't enough, to be honest. That's interesting.
Well,
and that's on dirt.
I mean, yeah, I got a problem with like weight penalties for rebuilt engines.
I do too. I actually do. I do. Especially because if there's not a good program to what happens if somebody gets protested and they've got to tear it down, and then of course you've got to, what are your choices? You get it rebuilt, now you get a weight penalty, or you have to buy a new engine. Well, I don't believe in that.
Let's just say you shit a lifter out of the motor, and the first time you run it, you got to pull the intake manifold off and replace it.
Sorry.
Now all of a sudden you got to have fucking 50 pounds in the goddamn thing.
You shit a lifter.
I mean,
sorry, that's funny every single time you say
that stuff pisses me off.
Oh my God, you should have left her. So
There-
what
there-
were you doing this afternoon? Well,
there-
I should have left her.
There was a 602 late model series around here that I did motors for Dale Timms. So we called it the Dale Timms rule.
Yeah, we totally did.
He like
Yes.
totally dominated that series the first year of the round. Next year they've got like 50-pound weight penalty for anything other than a sealed GM crate engine that they were blowing up right and left.
Well, and he just had so much more seat time than really anybody else he was racing
exactly.
against.
It was
It's really
an
what the
experience
problem was.
thing rather than a power thing.
For sure. Now Steve Peden of Cool we met up in well, I've met him. Where were we? Where the hell were we? Well, I mean, we were at Race Logic, but
he's a bit
it was in Tennessee.
He's a bit of a douche, though.
He's not a douche.
No, he's not. He's not. Yeah, he's not a douche. I forgot.
No, we like him.
No, I actually talked to him via messenger today.
Yes. Well, I just sent some stuff his way this way, but he said today, and Steve says Race Logic is worth every penny. I still go back and watch the videos.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, it's true. Honestly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Steve's a good dude, and he's like kicking ass there in the Midwest. So.
Yes,
Indiana.
absolutely. And Jeremy says, yeah, that's the same series I was talking about with the 50-pound.
Right. Exactly.
And then Brian says, hey, thanks, bud. Post results on Race Logic page.
Mhm.
Yes, for sure. And Brian is a new grandpa too.
Is he really?
Yes. Well, his daughter was actually at the hospital when we were at the street stock class getting snowed in over in eastern North Carolina.
That reminds me. Next year, if we do these classes again, at the same places, I need to charge a snow excise tax in case it snows and I have to spend an extra day at someplace again.
Or we could encourage. I think Ben Baker was lobbying for like Florida.
Or I want a beer allowance. A beer allowance would be. I don't mind being snowed in if I got a beer allowance.
A beer. And Debbie's here from Newsom Raceway Parts.
Hey.
And really, if you guys are looking for your crate engines, the 602s, 604s, any of your performance parts. Of course, I sell some of this, you sell some of this, but if you want to go direct, really Newsom Raceway Parts, been a big supporter of Crate Insider for several years.
Crate racing in general.
And crate racing all the way through, even through the tough times. And but Debbie says, hey, it seems like y'all are having entirely too much fun.
What's kind of the goal?
Yeah.
Last week sucked. I felt like shit last week. So
Yeah.
we cut the show down early because I literally my stomach was tore up for some reason. I have no idea.
Did you go home and shit a lifter?
No, it was brick size, but it was not a lifter.
I'm sorry, just the phrase makes me just absolutely laugh my ass off here. So that's hilarious. All right. Brian does say, though, somewhere warm this year. Hey.
Oh, yeah. Warm's always good.
Oh, my gosh. It's funny because 2 years ago, went out to Nebraska for an IMCA stock car class. And that's when I brought Alex, your son, along with me to help me with filming.
Yep.
And he'd never seen snow outside of like the, 5
Carolinas.
minutes that we get in the Carolinas. So that whole idea of like when we're in the parking lot, and any of you Midwesterners, we're going to totally get this. So this packed snow in it, and you're walking across the parking lot with this packed snow, and it's like crunch. And it's like holding under your feet. He did not know what to do with that. And that was, he'd never known how cold a person could be.
No.
And it was pretty stout. It was like 30 below or something like that. It was nothing to sneeze at. So he wasn't being wimpy at all. It was hardcore. All right. So we got another question. Jeremy says, Steve, if you were to look an engine over that was claimed to be a Crate 602 out of the box, could you tell by the casting numbers on the heads and intake and block that it was factory? You want me to repeat the question?
No, I'm
okay.
I'm trying to understand the question.
Yeah. Dead air.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Dead air, but
well, somebody's saying a Crate 602 is just, straight out of the box. Would you be able to tell? Could you look at the numbers and stuff to tell if it had been into or?
No, you can. There's serial numbers on everything, but no, not really.
Yeah, but just from the serial numbers alone, you wouldn't know.
No, you'd have to
whether it was all original. Yeah.
You can look at. There's certain telltale signs of whether one's been apart before or not, which is first thing I'd look for. I mean, I actually had a customer bring me an engine last week, towards the end of the week there, that, was supposed to be basically a reseal, one that I had originally sealed with Sika seals. And if that was the case, then, we were going to reseal it with the Crate USA seal.
Right.
And it came in, and as soon as he backed up the door, I'm like, dude, I didn't seal that.
Yeah.
So
you could tell.
Yeah.
Well, and he clarifies, and he says, sorry, I mean, like, are there matching numbers, or that the heads may be a different year than the block or intake castings?
No, there's not.
Okay. There's nothing like that.
604s are closer because they just started serializing the 604 heads with the stamp number on the exhaust ports.
Oh, interesting.
So those are easier to tell.
And Alan Brown he's laughing along with me, lifter shitter, and with laughy faces.
Right.
And Steve Peden says, worst part of race logic is the buy one get one free draft beer at Applebee's.
Right.
Yes.
That was horrible.
Tennessee. Oh yeah.
Wow. How much beer did we actually drink that night?
I mean, it wasn't me, because I have like one or two and I'm kind of done. But
oh my god,
that was long. But like, the thing with the Applebee's, it was
Chili's.
Distance.
It was Chili's.
Oh, it was Chili's.
Yeah.
Yeah, Chili's, and it was right next to the hotel. So there really didn't have to be any driving involved.
No, it was insane.
Yeah.
We drank an ass ton of beer.
And we had an amazing server.
And it was during the COVID bullshit too. So
yeah.
Or like at the tail end of it.
Oh, no, it was the very beginning. Because that would have
No, it was the tail end of it.
Was it? Okay. I gotcha. I couldn't really remember. I don't know. All of these scientism years have grown together.
The buy one get one free, and then they bring them both to you at the same time was badass.
Well, and
like that's not something that can happen in North Carolina.
No, and the server was amazing because she could remember everybody's. There was like 12 of us or 12 or 14 at the table.
Yeah,
and people ordered their food.
Yep.
And she's not writing anything down. We're like, oh hell, this is going to go sideways. And no, she remembered everybody's order, and it was perfect. It was amazing. Really, really, really amazing.
Pretty impressive.
Yeah. I think that's all I got for today, Steve. Yeah, What about you?
I mean,
you know what's going to be next Monday? So we have to make a decision now.
What?
Next Monday is actually 4th of July.
Oh, shit.
So are we going to have a show on July 4th? I think we should. I don't know. Do you have anything going on? Do you have any plans?
On the 4th? No, I've got no plans.
Yeah. So we can probably show up.
I'm going
here.
to friends on Saturday.
Okay.
We'll go to
our
friends on Saturday. And then Alex is racing Monday. Saturday. I'm not sure if he's racing Sunday or not.
Okay.
Need to be a little bit more in the loop on that. But Monday, July 4th.
Yeah. So I mean, we'll plan for right now. We'll plan on being back on Monday, because nice thing about a 7:00 show, it's not like it's dark enough for fireworks anyway.
No, true.
Yeah. So you got to figure out something. Jeremy says we should take the week off and party like hell. Y'all can come to the shop and see a huge fireworks show. So at least about 7:00, because what we missed this last week? It was summer solstice. It's the longest day of the year.
Right.
And we forgot to even talk about it.
Oh, well, I don't know why you would.
Well, because it's pretty exciting when it's the longest day of the year.
Okay.
Because as much as I bitch about the shortest day of the year, I should probably equally be grateful for
are we
going to
be staying on this time now from now on? Wasn't it like voted on by Congress or some shit?
If we are, that'd be awesome.
Oh, I'd love it. Yeah.
Because I'd rather be on daylight savings time all the time rather than standard time. And Matt's got one. We'll wrap up in just a second. I see Matt has a comment. He says, ordered ham and setup plates and caster camber gauge with Daytona 1 grip bite prep. Thanks for being a distributor on and fast shipping. Looking forward to using these products, Kate and Steve.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Yep.
Oh, Dave has a suggestion. He says everyone's off on Monday. Have it earlier in the day.
We can do that.
So we'll just kind of play it by ear. Maybe we get a plan.
Here, look.
Clearly, we are planning right now as we are doing this in front of everybody.
Yeah, let me look at the thing here.
The weather thing. The weather thing.
All right, so
Monday, it looks like it's potential thunderstorms.
84, 50% chance of thunderstorms, which now it's this time of year, so that's going to be all the time.
That's every day.
Yeah. So we might do it earlier in the day.
Okay. Yeah, we'll just gotta play it by ear, but we'll try to get it scheduled up on Facebook that day, sometime on that Monday, and then we'll let people know. So anyway, so that's about all I've got. Any last words there, Steve? I'm giving you a last word.
No. No words of wisdom.
Oh, okay. I do have one last word. Don't forget to, if you haven't already, join our June giveaway. So our June giveaway, just go to CrateInsider.com and you can go /giveaway, or at the top, there's a tab called giveaway. And we are giving away a whole prize package with a Walker air filter, Crate Insider flat air filter base, lid, or Joe's air cleaner stud, and t-shirt and a couple koozies with a $344 value.
Yeah.
So that is our June giveaway. And we will know what the answer to that is.
When?
So, well, like July 1st, probably. I have to look at the calendar. I think that's Friday.
Well, why don't we draw the whole thing on the 4th then?
Well,
if you're gonna go online, you don't do your top 5 Tuesday shit anymore, right?
No, I don't. No, I don't. So we'll have that. We'll let that person know that weekend.
Let's do it. Let's do it Monday for July 4th. It'd be kind of fun. I could be the drawer guy, just like draw all the names out of the hat.
Well, we were just going to do it electronically. So
electronically.
It's not. Yeah, it's not really as exciting.
So it's like a random roller thing.
Yeah, like random number kind of thing. And so you'll put your name and your email address, and yes, that puts you on our email list. But
we can still announce who won.
Yeah, we totally can.
Yeah.
So we will announce who won on the show. So I think that's a perfect segue. Thank you all for being here. Thank you so much for being part of the show. You can, of course, catch us on YouTube, on Facebook, or over on Apple iTunes or Spotify, any of your podcast providers. Just look up Racing Insiders Podcast. Otherwise, our individual businesses, I'm at CrateInsider.com. You are at hendrensracingengines.com. And we will see you guys.
The website sucks.
Yeah, mostly go to your Facebook page.
Just go to my Facebook page or call me.
Yeah.
Essentially. I need to do something with the website. It's just
one of these days.
Yeah, one of these days.
We'll get there. All right. You guys have a great week. We'll see you soon.